Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to another episode of Barber Shop Talk. Let me go ahead and bring my victims in this morning. What's going on, fellas? What's happening? What's happening?
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
I said victims. I said victims. I probably should have said victims. I should have said contributors, huh? How's everybody doing out there this morning? Let's get these formalities out there. We're 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. Call in if you got a comment, you want to make a comment about the show this morning. Call in if you want to give people some praise. You know, the fellas that's on here, give them their props as well. We're gonna chop it up today. So before we get into this topic, how y'all doing, bro?
We're doing good, man.
I know how to ask y'all that twice, but how y'all doing? I love seeing my brothers early on a Saturday morning. Let's be real. Let's be real. I love seeing my brothers early on a Saturday morning. So this morning I got John Chaney with me and James Battle, and then OT will be coming in. He had a prior engagement, so he'll be in with us this morning too. So before we get into this, man, how's life, man? I say how y'all doing, but how's life? How's life treating y'all?
Everything's going pretty good right now. I mean, we go through our ups and downs,
Yeah.
so you got to fight through them and keep it moving.
All right. Battle, how's life with you?
Oh, it's going good, man. I was out in Phoenix last week, so I'm trying to get back to this time change.
Yeah. Well,
It's a little difficult.
So then I'm gonna ask you this question here: how are you as a black man right now?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's always a struggle, man. It's always a struggle.
Yeah. Janie, how are you as a black man right now?
Paying attention to what's going on. There's a lot going on, man.
A lot going on. Good, lot going on. So, yeah, OT being good morning, fellas. What's happening? So here's the reason I asked that question, and I want everybody to notice the difference in each one of those answers to each one of them questions. How you doing? How's life treating you? And how are you feeling as a black man? And there were 3 different variations to all those answers that y'all gave me. Did y'all recognize that?
Yeah.
So now the question would be, why is that?
I think everybody's situation's different. I mean,
Right.
even now, it depends on where you live.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think everybody's like, even out in Texas,
Right.
there's certain things going on out in Texas. So I think it depends on where you're at and who's around you.
Battle, you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think the geographical location makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Out here in Texas, it's all right, but things could be a little better out here, I think, for the black man.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking this and the reason I'm going down this per se rabbit hole with this is we have, and our experiences have caused us per se to look at things differently depending on how it is, what the situation is, and also to the point of from a black man's perspective. You know what I mean? Because we know what the injustices and how we're viewed in society and different things like that. So it causes our mindset of ourselves to be explained differently when you say, how are you doing? And then if a brother asks you, how you doing as a black man? You see what I'm saying? So I want to throw that out only because our topic today, we got a good morning coming in. Reggie P. Good morning, my brother. Good morning. One of y'all got some feedback. Battle, is that you or is that you, Chain? Hold on once.
Oh,
That's Battle. That's in your background. You got something running in the back?
Nope. I don't know. I don't hear anything back here.
All right. Well, I'm gonna mute your mic when we ain't talking, so that feedback,
Okay.
For the whole thing. But I'll remember to click you back in.
Okay.
It's coming and going. So, but we all right. We're gonna work through these things. We have some technical difficulties every once in a while. But let's get into this. So today, I want to talk about this. Threat or threatened? Threat or threatened? Now, I bring that up because I'm going to ask this question. Are we, and we know we are in most cases, looked at as a threat as black men in society? But should that be reversed as far as us being threatened by what goes on in this society? I pulled up a couple articles. This is an article from May 27th of 2020 from CNN, analysis by John Blake. And it says there's one epidemic we may never find a vaccine for: fear of black men in public spaces. Fear of black men in public spaces. It says black men have long been a boogeyman in white America's collective psyche. There's something about us that brings out the worst in many people. Still, these recent incidents prompted me to ask questions I've never quite asked before. Why are black men still feared in 2020? And what will it take for it to stop? So I'm going to start off with this, and I'm going to start with you, John Chaney. Why are we feared?
I think it's the narrative that the white media portrays. If you look at anything that they, as far as like our music, they want to promote nothing but the most negative musics. If you look at anything that we do, they still want to portray you or put you in a space where people fear you. That's why you have a lot of Karens who just because you're in a certain space, just because you're in a certain area, they perceive you as a threat. And public places like Fox News, if you ever look at some of their commentary, it's horrible. It's horrible. And then some people who only listen to those types of media, that's what they get from it. That's what they pick up. So it starts there. You look at Rupert Murdoch and Fox, they have a huge platform.
Right.
And they reach a lot of people. And when all the narratives about us is negative, then some of that's going to stick.
Right. So let me ask this question, and we're talking about right now, of the fear of in this present moment per se. But let's go back. We can go as far back as our ancestors and so forth. I mean, I remember one of the movies I seen when I was a young kid was Mandingo. And the fear that they had of that man, not only as a man, but because he was a black man who had this physique, big guy. So what sparked all that? I mean, because here's the part that I guess I want to dig into the root of in battle. I'm going to come to you in a minute. What I want to dig to the root of it is this fear that hangs on today in today's society, right? And this article was from 2020. So we're in 2023. But the fear of us, of who we are, not that we've ever may have done anything, but the fear of just the potential of what they think we may do. Where does that start from? Because if you think about it, we were in bondage for over 400 years, where they were controlling our every move when we talk about our ancestors. So my question goes to this: why are we the ones that are feared, or why are we the ones that are looked at as the threat? They should be the ones that are feared because of what they have done through history and what you're saying now, John, up to this date, where we get on and it still happens today. We get in the elevator and Karen, or whoever you want to call it, clutches her purse a little closer. Like there's a fear that you're a criminal because you get on that elevator.
Did you one time it was Michael Jordan and Eddie Murphy, two of the richest black men in America. They got on a elevator and the woman clutched her purse.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Talk to me about it. You the senior statesman.
Well, I think it goes back to what you just said. It goes back a long way. back to slavery days and those times, where whenever the black male was given equal footing, I guess you could say, whether it was in a boxing ring or whatever it was, he normally dominated in those cases. So that kind of psyche still exists today. I was when you told me about the subject for today, I did a little bit of research, and I found a study that the American Psychological Association did back in 2017. And in that study, they said that what they had found out was that you could take two males, a black male and a white male, with the identical size. Both could be 6 foot, 200 pounds. The average person feels more threatened by the black male than they do the white male, even though they're the exact same size. So there's something in the psyche of Americans. Well, not just Americans, all people.
Right.
That that makes them feel that way. And what they figured out was that it did come from way back in those days, where black males were basically bred to be bigger, stronger, and more dominant than other males. So I don't think anything has changed from that point. And a lot of the reason why it hasn't changed is exactly what Cheney was saying, is that the media now is pushing it. Everything else is pushing it. Even our own people push it sometimes.
That's where I wanted to go.
And so it's out there, and I don't know that it's going to change. I would like for it to, but
Can I say this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just listening to a video. I should have wrote the doctor's name down. Black professor, and he was trashing Dion, trashing him. And the thing that really jumped out was he's never met him, he's never talked to him, he's never been to the campus. He's just spewing all this hate, and he has no idea. He's saying that it's Dion's success. Nobody else is going to benefit from it.
I've seen that.
Yeah. And it's like, because he's a black person saying this, then that gives it credibility, or more credibility. Yeah. So they get these guys. What's his name? Jason Whitlock.
And I was just getting ready to go there with him. And
you got the Fringe, Charleston White, and guys like that, just trashing Dion, trashing him. And again, none of them know him. They've never been there. They don't know what's going on, but yet they're trashing them. And if the white media can get us to trash us, they don't have to do it.
Right. But and that's something that Battle touched on, and that's where I wanted to go next, because here's the thing, and you're touching on it as well. Sometimes, do you feel, and I'll ask both of y'all, that we can be our own worst enemy when it comes to these type things? And the reason I say that is this. There's already this stigma, stereotype, vision of who we are, not because of anything we've done, but who they want us to be portrayed as. But then you have the Jason Whitlocks, you have these other folks that have a platform just like I do, that choose not to uplift us, but to tear us down. And what they don't realize, and I say this because I think some of it is ignorance. Some of it is, as they say, chasing the bag.
Greed.
But I think with greed. And I think the other part of it is not being comfortable with being a black man. that you will trash another black man to uplift yourself, that you think they're going to look at you differently because you're talking about him. But at the same time, they're laughing at you because they're looking at you like you're talking about your own people.
Yeah.
And we look at you the same way. We may be giving you the bag. We may be giving you the platform. But when you come in here, Larry Elder's another one that comes to mind.
Yes,
There's so many we can name, and there's names that a lot of people throw out that I'm not going to get into because I don't use those names. But when we hear those derogatory comments made towards these people, I don't like it, but I understand it, because what we do is we want to retort to with the same vitriol that they do to make them feel less than when we respond. Reggie Piro, it's our own people that cause this perception more than whites. They provide the fuel for them. I don't think it's more than whites. I agree with your comment, but I don't think it's more. I think what has happened is we've gotten some of us have gotten so comfortable with the fact that we feel accepted into that little circle that they have, that we tend to down talk, disrespect. I mean, we do it not only with black men, we do it with our women as well. You know what I mean? So I'm
Candace Owens.
Yeah, and there's a whole lot we can name. And here's the thing: we name those ones with the large platforms, right? But let me put this out there: we got people that we know, that we've grown up with, that are in our circles every day, that we consider to be friends, that do the same damn thing, but they don't have. Well, I want to this morning, but they don't have a microphone, they don't have a camera, but they still have a voice, and they tell this person, this person. And the bad thing about it, whoever they're telling, don't stop them. Yeah. We don't step up and say, hey man, hold on, I'm not going to allow you to talk about that brother in my presence. It's not going to happen, because if you're talking about him to me, who are you talking to me about? You know, but we got off a little bit on that because, you know, it's not just them. It's not just them. We can't just say it's white society, because we're guilty of it as well. But I won't say more than whites. I would say it's probably about 55, 45, 51, 49, give or take a percent. You know what I'm saying? But in this article again, it says why this fear of black men persists, right? And it says, ask where this fear comes from, and there's one easy answer. And this is what I want to touch on, because both of you touched on it. White America has long associated black women with criminality and hypersexuality. It permeates our history and our art. We are a Nat Turner who terrified plantation owners when he led a 19th century slave rebellion. We're bigger Thomas from Richard Wright's native son. We're Marlo Stanfield, that ice cold drug dealer from HBO's The Wire. So there's different variations that they put us in with this fear that they have. You know what I'm saying? So, Battle, I'm gonna ask you this one. I'm gonna put you on the spot on this one. We talk about, you know, the fear and our own people, you know, doing these things too. The question I would ask from this, when we talk about the slavery and the Nat Turner, and we know there was a lot of rebellion against what we were being held for, right? Well, my question would be, if we know this as black men, why is it so hard for us to come together? Why? It might be it's a broad one, but you can narrow it down. I know you.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times it's because a lot of us agree with it. And so it's hard for us to kind of bridge that. I mean, I've had conversations with people before about, and just given the Deion Sanders situation. So there are people that I've heard, you know, other black people talk about how the reason why they don't like Deion Sanders, for example, because he's a little bit more boisterous. He says, he says what's on his mind. The same reason that people love Trump. the I've heard people tell me, look, I like Tony Dungy. He was a good coach, just like Deion Sanders, but he didn't talk like Deion Sanders, Or I like Mike Tomlin. So it's our own people that are saying those kinds of things.
Let me ask you something. Hold that thought, Battle. Let me ask you this question, and I ain't mean to cut you up, but I want to catch something that you just said there. So let me ask this question. So are they saying they don't like Deion because of his brashness, braggadocious attitude, or is it that they like Tony Dungy because his approach is humble and he's straight line? Because, and the reason I ask that is because there's a lot of us that have a very outgoing personality where our confidence is exuded through our pores on a daily basis.
Right.
And with that confidence, there's a certain amount of arrogance and braggadociousness, if you can, that says, as a Deion will say about some of his players, he is him. I am him. Is that a turnoff for a lot of people? And does it just only equate to us when we do it?
I think it is a turnoff for some people. I mean, for me personally, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I like confident people, period. I don't like people that are always questioning themselves and things. I won't say I don't like them, but I don't like that kind of attitude. I like an attitude that's confident. You can go out and do whatever it is you want to do. Yeah. You just gotta, you gotta put your mind to it. But sometimes when people come across that way, I think it's a little bit of envy in it for other people, because they would like to do the same thing, but they can't. And then, the thing about it with Deion is he's done all of this stuff before.
Proven.
Yeah. He's played the game. He's excelled at the game. He's a Hall of Famer. So he can back up everything that he's saying, just like Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was the same way. And I loved Muhammad Ali. Mm-hmm. I mean, I liked the way he carried himself. Sometimes he could be, out there. Sometimes he could say some outrageous things, but it was okay with me.
Yeah. Here's a comment. You are clearly speaking on the mental/psychological conditioning we continue to practice on each other. Willis Cheney. Right. True. I mean, and that's the thing, and we're going to get into that because I got a question about the mental and the psychological as we go on. But thank you, Willis. That's a good point you made. Good morning, Lisa Madero, Diane Madero. Appreciate you tuning in.
Interject.
Reggie, hold on 1 minute.
I got you.
Reggie Piro, do you think that the perception is that Tony Dungy is less threatening than Deion?
Well, of course, yeah.
Well, we say of course, but let me ask this question. Let me put this caveat. John, hold that thought that you had. Let me put this caveat in there. Is it that Deion is less threatening? I mean, that Tony Dungy is less threatening? Or that Tony Dungy went about his business more quietly? And the only reason I say less threatening is because we know neither one of them are going to pull a gun out on the sidelines and shoot anybody. If you've seen both of them in an elevator, there's still going to be a certain amount of fanfare towards both because of their accomplishments. So I'll ask it this way. Is it that Tony Dungy is perceived as less threatening than Deion? Or is it just the fact of, because Tony Dungy seems like this quiet, comfortable in his own skin person that doesn't have to be braggadocious, that we consider him to be less threatening, or they consider him to be less threatening than Deion? Because here's the thing you got to remember. The quiet person, in 9 times out of 10, can't rile up a bunch of people and lead them into a fight. The loud person is the one they're worried about, because if everybody starts following this person, now we got an issue. Because my opinion, when we talk about Deion, and John, I'll let you go after this. My opinion about Deion and the threat that he poses to the NFL, to the college football structure, is what you've seen with the portal this year. All these kids jumped in the portal, and all of his team, majority of his team, probably 85%, came from the portal. I don't know the numbers for sure, but I'm just saying. So now the question is, all those Nick Sabans and the other head coaches on these Power 5 schools are feeling threatened, because now those first one, 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars are going to be looking towards Colorado because of how he's taking care of his players, because he's proven, because he's this. So it's a threat to their recruiting. And are they going to get those 5-star recruits? Are they going to get those players that they thought they were going to get? Because now that coach don't look like the normal coach that comes from those Power 5 schools. He's telling them that I'm bringing you here not to make you a better football player, but turn you into a man. And he can go in those homes with those parents and look them eye to eye, where those parents are looking at him as saying, oh, I don't want him because he's braggadocious. I want my son to play with him because he's proven, compared to those coaches that are selling me a pipe dream. How do you go there? What do you do? Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. My question is, why do we all have to be the same way? Why can't we love Tony Dungy for his style and then like Deion because his style? One of the reasons are we don't have enough black coaches to really, we just want them to be successful. And most of the time, white people that are in charge want them to be humble and quiet. Deion addressed it one time when he said, "Don't let my what did he say? Don't let
my confidence affect your insecurities," or something to that extent.
That says it right there. Some people are offended by his confidence, the way he goes about things, and the thing that they don't, they see it, is that he can relate to these kids. Deion's been he's been recruited. He's been the father with his kids getting recruited, and now he's the one doing the recruiting. So he's been in every aspect, and Deion's a threat. If you look at it, Deion has people. Their tickets are sold out for the rest of the year. Their ticket, I just saw the other day, they're the highest ticket. Ohio State is number 2. And Alabama and those other schools, Michigan, they're below. Number 1 right now is Colorado. The hottest ticket is Colorado. One woman wrote on a Friday she could not get a seat anywhere in Boulder to sit down and eat. She had to go to a burger place and go home and eat. In Boulder, they were 1-11 last year. Yeah. And he's flipping kids. They're saying now that Michael Irvin and what's his name? The big D lineman.
Warren Sapp.
They said they're not allowed to come to the University of Miami because of their affiliation with Colorado. So it's the coaches are feeling it. Deion's getting ready to flip one of their D linemen from Alabama. He was at the game and the whole crowd was yelling his name. Deion knows how to cater to these kids. He's getting them NIL deals. They're in front of 9 million people every week, and they got scouts at the game, at the practice every day. So he's a threat. He's a big threat.
But it goes to this, because we're talking about the threat to recruiting, the threat to that. But at the same time, if Deion was just me or you, in Colorado as the head coach, how different would it be? Would we be a threat? And I say that if we had the same amount of accolades but didn't have the name recognition, would it be the same?
I'll give
Because
you. I don't
let me just say, because we keep saying the threat, the threat, the threat. But what I'm saying is when we talk about the threat to, or when they look at him as a threat, we got some of our own people, as we said, that feel the same way. And as Willis Change said, I think people don't like Coach Sanders as a coach is because he doesn't mimic the pre-established mode of how a coach should be, which wasn't held by a black man anyway.
Well, let me ask you this. Who was the highest paid black coach in college football?
Right now?
Who was? Actually, he just got fired, I think. But the
Michigan State.
Yeah, he was the highest paid. I didn't even know who he was. I had no idea.
So that goes into what I just said.
Yeah, until the negative, exactly. Until the negativity came where he got fired for saying something inappropriate or doing something inappropriate to a female. I had no idea who he was because he was probably because he fit that mold, quiet, humble, but I had no idea. And he's the highest paid. But Deion ain't the highest paid, but who are we talking about?
He's the biggest draw, but here's the other part, and we talked about this in the beginning. One thing we're not discussing is what I think you or Battle mentioned before is the media. The media is driving this train right now. It's not just Deion is driving it. Deion's the name. They're the ones benefiting off his name with the broadcast, with the pregame shows, with all this kind of stuff with the media and all. And think about it. We're talking about it. Mm-hmm. And my podcast ain't nowhere close to some of the big name ones, but we're talking about it, which tells you, as we transition back to the threat aspect, the threat is real when it comes to the fact of us being a threat to what they feel is the establishment, right? And how things are established. And as Willis Chaney said, he doesn't, fit the pre-established mold, which really none of us do. What we do is, and I want to put this out here, man. We as black men and black women, just to be real, people of color, we are chameleons. We are chameleons when it comes to adapting to the environments that we walk into. And I say chameleons not to the point that we change who we are, but we change certain things about us depending on the room that we're in. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's a threat within itself. Because if I go in the boardroom and close a deal, right? But then go down on the corner and drink a 40 with my boys, compared to the one that's in the boardroom and goes home to, his 30-acre estate or something like that and don't even deal with the people that he grew up with or where he grew up from and everything like that. Who's more of a threat? The one that can still go back to where it came from and still walk in the boardroom, or the one that goes in the boardroom and has no idea or doesn't care about where it came from? And we can talk about Clarence Thomas. Mm-hmm. We can talk about many of them. Mm-hmm. So, but I feel sometimes those are the bigger threat than the everyday me and you. The Clarence Thomases, the Tim Scotts, and those guys. And the Jason Whitlocks, as we talk about the Candace Owenses. Battle, talk to me.
Yeah, I think overall the black male is a threat to white dominance, period. Mm-hmm. And we have always been a threat to white dominance. Mm-hmm. When you go back to the Olympics, when Jesse Owens ran against the Germans, mm-hmm. and there was really no competition. Mm-hmm. At that particular time, we pretty much showed our dominance in that particular sport, and then we excelled and we went to other sports. So every time we go from one sport or anything to another, it becomes a threat because we are a threat to male dominance. When Barack Obama became president of the United States, the first thing that a lot of white people thought was, hey, this guy's going to come back and try to make up for all the bad that's happened, right? You know, and that didn't happen, but that was the main thing that was on their mind. And every time we dominate anything, Tiger Woods, when he was dominating golf, a big concern was, oh man, he might break Jack Nicklaus's record. We don't, you know, they really don't want that. They really don't want him to break Jack
Serena Williams. Serena Williams.
Yeah. Serena Williams, when she dominated tennis. And now black women are dominating tennis. And at some point, black men are going to be dominating tennis too.
So do we need to start pulling? Do we need to start pulling our foot back off the gas a little bit as a people? Because I mean, you know, we cause too many problems with our superiority per se. You know, I say that jokingly, but here's the thing, Battle, and you touched on something that made me say, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is what I wanted to say. That just shows that something we've all been told, and I think everybody out there can relate to this. We've always been told, you got to be better at everything you do, no matter what it is in this society, because you're always going to be looked at as less than. The only time you're looked at as something different than less than is when you're looked at as a threat. I mean, man, it's causing me to get a little angry this morning, but it is what it is. But here's the thing: it says, this fear of black men doesn't just spring from racism; it's psychological, as Willis Cheney said. There is a body of work in literature and psychology that speaks to historical tradition, where some white people, white men in particular, project the primal aggressions that they refuse to see in themselves onto black people. Now, I want to flip something here real quick. When we talk about threat, or should we feel threatened? We were in bondage for 400 years. We still see, and I talked about it a couple weeks ago, people that look like us, men that look like us, serving 20, 30, 40 years in jail for crimes they didn't commit. We still see people that look like us being gunned down in the street by police officers of peace to protect and serve. So my question would be, we look at it, they look at us as we're a threat. But let's flip that, because our existence is continually threatened on a daily basis. Our existence as a black man is threatened on it. And I want people to understand this when I say this. For anybody out there of non-colorless listening, know this when I say this, and I've said it many times, but I'm gonna clear it up again. Me being pro-black does not make me anti-white. Me being pro-black does not make me anti-white. However, when you talk to those that are in that superiority complex, their thoughts of being pro-white means everybody else is nothing. But we're quick to down talk and try to prevent us as a people from doing the things we need to do to uplift us. But you still have an existence today, the KKK. You have these white nationalities movements. You have all these things that are embedded in these systems and in our politics and all these different things you can think of to deal with what they call so-called structure. But I'm a threat. I'm a threat. Not because of what I've done, because of my melanin content within my body. John, let me ask you this. We grew up in the same hometown, Frederick, Maryland. Frederick, Maryland, from when we grew up and graduated in 1984 to now. What's different?
I think if you look at what's going on in our city and what's going on nationwide, they're just doing things differently. They can't be overt about different things, but they're just doing it. Like, for instance, in Frederick, what's going on now is the gentrification. Some of the areas that we grew up and we hung around, they're not the same anymore.
Right.
They're pushing those people out, and downtown in a few years you won't even know that black people used to live there. There's just different things they're doing, and I want to say this about some of the tactics they're using. They're hiring these white nationalists to be police officers. They found, I forget where this was, but the police chief got arrested, and come to find out half his staff were criminals, but they were white criminals, and they were just hiring them. I mean straight KKK type people. So they're doing it now legally. They're doing it. They're putting people in different places where they can affect um where they can affect us, and we not even really, it's not overt. So there's certain tactics that they're using that we need to, and that's more the reason why we got to stick together. We still don't stick together. If you look at it right now, look at what Trump, look how he's got 91. I mean, we know everything about him, but they still support him. They will not say nothing bad out in public. They'll sing his praises behind closed doors. They're going to talk, but they're not saying it out in public. And we'll jump right out there and bash our own people. So we got to stop that. We're not in competition with each other, and we get more done if we work together than we can separated.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, outstanding concept. When you really think about it, it's an outstanding concept. But here's the other part we have to remember. We're all different. We all have different goals. We all just see different. We have different ways of how we approach things. And I'm saying this, John, because I don't want people to think that we all have to think the same way. However, we shouldn't have to tear each other down to think that that's going to help us get to where we need to get to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I question, do we have different goals? I mean, most people want safety. They want the kids to have good education. They want to have a nice upbringing. I mean, basically, with the basics, a lot of us want the same things. So again,
But all that springs from equality. All of it springs from equality because if we go back, the only thing that we as African Americans, blacks have asked for from day one was equality.
mm-hmm.
To be treated equal in whatever it is. But we ask for it, but as you mentioned, we don't even do it amongst ourselves. We don't even treat each other equal on a consistent basis, but we're asking other folks who don't have our best interests at hand to do that. And that's why I say, yeah, the goals may be similar, but how we're going about it is the rankings of what those goals are and what we want to go about doing them. You know what I'm saying? The biggest thing is, I think sometimes we think that we all have to come together to do this. But it only takes one. Think about this, and I'll say it this way. When Barack Obama announced that he was running for president, and there was a few here and there, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say 99.9% of African Americans in this country were on board when he first said it. And as time went on, a couple drop off here, a couple drop off there, a couple drop off here. And it's not because he wasn't qualified. It's not because he wasn't able to do the job. It was a difference in opinions as far as because he spoke a different way. Because this is how petty we are now. Let's be real. Because of how he spoke, because of how he carried himself, they felt he was catering to those more than us. All the different things, and we look for these holes or chinks in the armor to give us this opinion of he ain't worthy.
Mhm.
And that's why I say when we talk about the goals, yes, we all may have the same goals because, you know, we want the education for our kids. We want this, we want that. But what happens is what your goals are and what my goals are may be similar but different. But the way you're going about it, somebody will find some type of controversy to stir up because of the way you're going about it. And he looks just like you. Rather than saying, hey, man, if you need any help with where you're trying to go, let me know. But we won't tell you that, but we'll go tell somebody else, man, let me tell you what this fool trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We see it in the entertainment industry. Kevin Hart, Mike Epps had, you know, so-called beef. But the thing I go back to is who is the ones that magnify whatever differences they have? Because the first thing they do is they go to the media and express how they feel about the other person rather than going to the person.
Mhm.
You know, so when we talk about us contributing to this threat, how do we deal with this battle?
Well, what I've always seen, and I still see it now, and that is that white people in throughout our history have wanted us in our place, whatever that is to them. You know, they want us to be quiet. They want us to accept whatever it is they say or they think we should have. And then as long as we're in our place, they're okay. But as soon as we step outside of that comfort zone, and that's why we're always a threat, because we we are stepping outside of that comfort zone for them.
Yeah.
We have already stepped outside of that. And the problem that I see, and sometimes I'll call out a lot of my own friends and stuff about this, because I'll tell them, look, I am not going to be uh I'm not going to just sit back and let them put me in my place.
Mhm.
You know, so we and that's what I see. There's a lot of people that are content being in their place.
Mm.
A lot of our people are content, um, or they're afraid. So they just take what they can get, and and that's why we are a threat, because every time they see us stepping outside of what that
What they
place that
think
they
we
think
should be,
of,
right?
right, then they come full force with all kinds of things. You see it now in the voting, all the little voting bills and stuff that they have out there to block people from voting, and uh, the not teaching history in school, not wanting people to know the truth about things. All of that is to keep us in our place.
Right.
It's all that's the plan.
Who created this place?
They did.
I know. I just want to throw that out there. but,
They,
but what you said, no, and what you said is like the nail in the coffin, because it specifically goes to that. Because if you remember, and we've all heard this before, we went from being slaves, and then as time went on, as we became more educated, and they couldn't contain us in our place, then we became the uppity Negro. You know,
right.
Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and all those people were called the uppity Negro. And now that we're even more educated, more, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me, y'all. More self-sustainable in what we do. The threat is real to those who may be at that level, but they see you at that same level. Mind you, the position may say the same, but their thoughts about you aren't.
That's
And
right.
and that's why I say when we go into these rooms, let me just say it this way, man. Y'all think Dion is bad, or people think Dion is bad when he talks about what. Let me tell you, I don't mind and I toned it back some. And Battle, you know me while I was in the military, and Shane, you knew me as a young man, so you may not know this much. But people didn't know me. No, I have no problem talking about my accomplishments when need to be done. And it's not being braggadocious. I'm setting it straight that you're not better than me just because of what I look like. And I think sometimes what we do is we cower down rather than stand up. We bend over. And I think it was Martin Luther King said, a man can't ride you when you stand up straight. A man cannot ride your back when you stand up straight. Stand up straight, put them shoulders back, and walk with your head up. And a lot of times when we feel we don't belong, we cower down. And we fall into that point where we don't feel we're worthy to be in these spaces, and they take advantage of it because they see, as they say, a chink in the armor. And then from that point on, once they see you cower, it's over because they're going to use it until they can't use you anymore. And most of the time, what happens is we get so tired of it that we say, I can't take this anymore. And when we're in those spaces, we don't take advantage of them. And what we do, we leave them. And now we've left a space open for them to put another person that looks like them in there. And then we complain and say, they only hiring who they want to hire that don't look like us. You see these corporations, these owners in the NFL, all of them look the same.
Right.
That 30% amount of money that you had to have 30% in order to be one to purchase a team in the NFL. How many African Americans say they have 30% before they start getting investors? That was done for a reason. But we don't pay attention to those things.
Right. I mean, you
D-Mac,
think about
change is threatening and scary. As a result, we get a Trump.
Yeah. You think about whenever people hear the term systematic racism or systematic discrimination, it does exist regardless of what Tim Scott says. It does exist because that's the reason why Tim Scott will never be elected president. Because he has already reached the pinnacle for himself. Yeah. He's not going to get any further. He don't know it yet, but he's not going to get any further.
No, he knows it.
Because in that organization that he is in, he has reached the top of the line for him. He's not going anywhere.
I'm gonna push back, Battle. He knows it, and I'm gonna tell you how he knows it. He knows it because they told him, run for president. We need you as a visual that the Republican Party is all inclusive. We need you to run for president. You ain't gonna win, but we need you as a figurehead to show that the Republican Party is changing as far as blacks within the Republican Party. So we want you to throw your hat in the ring. We know you ain't gonna get about 1%, and that's probably gonna be your family, but we want you to run. He know it, we know it, they know it, and and this is the thing, as John said about, or you mentioned about the gerrymandering and changing of the voting rules and all that stuff. They playing chess. They're playing chess. It's strategic moves in everything that they're doing. Anybody in their right mind that has ever sat and listened to or an interview with Tim Scott knows damn well, knows he shouldn't even be in the running for no president. And I'm not trying to disparage him, education-wise or his accomplishments. I'm not minimizing that. However, everybody knows, everybody in life knows where their pinnacle is and where they reach. Now, you may have aspirations to go higher. I'm fine with that. We talking about president here. And if you think the Republican Party of any party, I don't care if it's independent, is going to put in a black nominee to be president of the United States, you're a bigger fool than I thought you were.
Yep.
Go ahead, Shane.
Well, Matt Gaetz, he just said it. Matt Gaetz said if we pass the John Lewis bill, voting rights bill, he said the Republicans will never win another election. So they already know this. And that's why they're setting up. I mean, you look at it, they're setting up where the people who call the shots in every state who calls the shots. They're putting people in place so that even if they lose, they still can win. So they're doing a lot of chess. They're some of the election officials. They're going in that direction. They're getting it where their legislature can control that state, so that no matter if we have a million more votes, they still make the final decision. So that's what they're trying to do. So, we got it. The main thing is people have to be aware. People got to be paying attention. And like Battle said, you got to push. You got to push. Let me tell you that one time I got a couple buddies that I went to school with, a couple white guys that we played ball with and played sports with, and we thought they were cool. Until this Trump thing started around 2016 or whenever he got elected. And a couple of them, I had to tell them, I said, man, you're giving off racist vibes. And they went crazy. And both of them sent me messages about a year later and was like, hey man, I didn't ever think that. I'm glad you pointed it out. He said, I did some self-reflection and you're right. So
was this after he left office? Was this after he left office? No, I'm just asking. Was it after he left office?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did I tell you? It took you 4 years to realize the error of your ways.
Yeah.
See,
I don't think it took 4 years. It took him 4 years to admit it.
But that's my point. It took 4 years for him to come back to you.
Yeah.
He knew day one.
Yes. So that's all I'm saying, man. Like I said, they're doing things differently now. It's not so overt. They can't just walk up and say you can't vote, but now they're going to make it so you got to get this and you got to get that, and then they want you to stand in lines for hours. I vote at Urbana High School. I've never spent more than 5 minutes at casting my vote. And you know where Urbana is. Mm. So, and then you got people, I can't even fathom people standing in line for 8 hours.
Well, the thing is this. A lot of the states you have to go to a specific polling location.
Right.
So here's what you got to remember. The population in those areas is different by areas. Right. So if you go to Urbana is one thing, but you go to and I don't know, maybe out towards Farmbrook or somewhere out there, you got a larger population, which is why we see what we see in Atlanta, Fulton County, Atlanta. It's a lot of people in Fulton County. So are there going to be lines? If the people are doing their right and voting, it's going to be lines, and there should be lines.
I agree with that, but here's my point. They're taking away some of those. They're trying to take away like the one day on Sunday when Christians could go and vote. They're taking away certain things. So there's things they could do to alleviate those lines. Not that there won't be any lines, but not 8 hours.
Yeah, but
taking away some of the places. They've done it in Texas.
And right. In Texas,
they had one place where they had one county where everybody had to come to drop off at one place.
Right.
So,
and that's that's in Houston. That's in the Houston area. Now, and the reason why they did that is because Houston is predominantly Black. They're doing that in these areas that are predominantly Black because they do not want you to vote. They want to deter you from voting by creating all kind of obstacles for you to vote. Yeah. Because they think, hey, if somebody got to go and stand 10 hours, they're not going to do it. Black people ain't going to stand in line that long. So, and that's what they're depending on.
Yeah, but go ahead, Battle. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I mean, it's not right. It's not right for them to do that because the part of Texas that I live in is the majority of people are white. We have all kinds of places you can go vote.
Yeah.
But it's not it's not fair for the people that live in the cities that are predominantly black.
Yeah. So let me add this in there. Let me ask this question. So because of all these roadblocks that they're throwing up per se, do we just stop?
No.
No.
But listen, we say no, but here's the thing: we've gotten to a point now where everything is about convenience. If it's not convenient for me, I'm not going to do it. And the reason I ask that is this: we know every tactic damn near that they're going to try every year that the voting comes around to prevent us from going to the polls and doing our duty, right? We know. But guess what we do? We will stand in line for 1, 2, 3, 8 hours to go see a concert by some big name artist, or go stand in line for a comedy show or anything you can think about, football game. But we won't stand in line to cast a vote to put people in places where we need them to change the dichotomy of what's going on. All I'm saying is we can get mad because, and the thing is, we get mad, but we know what the system is. We know who's in the system and what the system is doing to prevent us from doing what we're doing, no matter whether it's voting or anything else. But we can't stop just because. And we got so many people, us three standing here say, I'm going to do it. But what about the other three? That's 50% off the top. 50% off the top. If you take 6 people and 3 say they're going and 3 say they ain't going, 50% off the top. You know what that 50% does? Gives them the up. If we start looking at it that way, not in the masses, but in the small portions, and start breaking it down like that, we'll be able to accomplish things. The reason we can't accomplish things is we prioritize shit the wrong way. And then when they put a roadblock up, I guarantee if somebody told you that you were able to get a scholarship if you rushed for 200 yards a game for a year, you would kill yourself to rush for 200 yards a game. And if they didn't give you the ball, you're going to tell them, give me the damn ball. We need to change that mindset to what we do as far as voting and changing the wrongs that we know are wrong. We don't stand up when we need to stand up.
Well, I'll say this. I think we have been a little bit, not to the degree that we need to, but those folks in Atlanta, they stood up, they stood in those lines. And then they come back with rules saying, well, now you can't give them water and you can't give them. So I think in certain places we did. Raphael Warnock and the other Democrat, they won both of those special elections. Those people in Atlanta showed up and they stood in those lines, and then they come back with different rules. And I think we are, but not to the degree that we should.
Here's the other part.
But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. In the 60s, our people fought this same battle, right?
Yep.
And at some point, we have to decide, look, we're not going to keep fighting this battle. At some point, we have to do some radical stuff. And it's not complying with them every time. And standing in the 10-hour line. At some point, we have to do something more radical. And we have to create a situation where they can't keep moving the goalposts.
I agree.
And that's where we are. That's where we are right now, because our people, it's not like we're getting any younger. I mean, I could stand in a line for 8 hours, 10 years ago, a whole lot easier than I can now, right? Yeah. So, and it's like that for so many people. But at some point, we have to quit accepting what they're doing, and because they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep doing it as long as we tolerate it and allow them to do it. They're going to keep doing it. So
go ahead.
So at some point, we have to decide to do something a little bit more radical to make them stop changing. Because just like you look at Alabama, for example, right now, the Supreme Court,
yeah,
ruled in their favor, in our favor, in this particular case. And then what they do,
They said, I
they
don't
came
care.
back and defied all of that and said, no, we don't care what the Supreme Court says. We're gonna still make it difficult for black
Yeah,
people to vote.
yeah,
And there's no consequences.
Right.
yeah.
They have no consequences. And at some point, I don't know what the answer is, but we got to do something to make them stop
I got
doing
an
it.
I got an idea. I saw a picture yesterday. There's a guy named Mondale Robinson, I think. He's from Atlanta. He's a mayor of one of those cities down there. And he took a picture with Roland Martin and a couple other heavy hitters. And the caption was, Black men, there's nothing wrong with black men being in politics. We're not going to change anything until we change the makeup of these meetings and and the people who are actually making the decisions. We got to get our kids into knowing the basics of political science, knowing the basics of how the government works, and we got to get them involved in politics. I didn't get involved in politics until 15 years ago or so. So we got to get our people involved. We got to get them involved at a young age, because that's the only thing that's going to change. If they talk about getting more black coaches, they said we need more black ADs, because the ADs are the people that hire the coaches.
Right.
So I just think we need to get more involved. We got to get these young people involved in politics. They don't have to, everybody can't run for office, but you need to know what's going on. You need to know the basics. What are their term limits? Who makes the decisions? And go from there. But we
So,
gotta be in the room when decisions are being made. Our
but
voice has to be heard.
but that starts where we need to, and what everything you said is true. But now you have to ask yourself, how are you going to convince a kid that can run a 4.40 that his best chance to change things is not running a football,
I'm
but
not.
going into politics? And,
I'm,
listen, let me finish. What I'm
okay.
saying is money, the long-term amount of money they're going to make being a football player or a pro athlete compared to being a politician, that's where the difference comes in, because most young kids now that play sports and are being told that they're good have aspirations to be a running back, quarterback, basketball player, anything you can think of. Politics is the last thing on their mind. And none of these kids that we're talking about, if trying to get them to get more interested in, are interested in that. And we can teach them, but is it going to make a difference? Because we, as Ballard said, we ain't getting no younger. We ain't getting no younger.
All right, let me. Here's the thing. They don't have to stop being an athlete. They can just learn about politics sometimes, and then if they go to be a college or professional player, now they can, because they know about politics. Now they can either use their money, use their platform to support people that can go into office. They may not necessarily be the one that'll be a politician, but then because they know about it, some athletes, once they retire, get into politics and run for office. You remember J.C. Watts from Oklahoma and some of the other guys, but everybody's not going to be the politician, but you
Right.
still you can affect it from behind the scenes. Like I always say, you can still support candidates. You can be the one that shows up at their fundraiser and everybody comes and donates money. They don't have to, everybody doesn't have to be a politician, but you need to know about politics. You need to know who to support. You need to know. I'll give you a quick example. I remember I was going to go talk to the person that runs drug court in Frederick County. I was going to go down and talk to the person, and because one of the requirements, you have to plead guilty to a felony in order to get in this program. And if you plead guilty to a felony,
It's over.
it's that. What's the point? But then one of my mentors, Guy, a guy named Guy, he was running the NAACP, and he said, "John, why are you going down to talk to him? That's a state-run program. He can't do anything." So I canceled the meeting because I would go talk to him. He's not a decision maker. He's not one that can change anything. So again, we just got to know who and where we can affect change. And it's not always in the front. Sometimes it can be from the back.
No, I get what you're saying. I get, but what the only thing I'm saying when I push back on that is that we have this mentality in our community.
I agree with that.
That athletics is the way out. Athletics is the way to prosperity, and until we break that cycle, nothing else is going to make a difference. That's all I'm saying. I'm not pushing back on anything you said.
I agree with, but we got to change that.
But that's what I'm saying. We have to change it. But the thing is, how do you change it? Because here's the thing: most of the youth coaches look like us.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into high school, they're sprinkled here and there. They get into college, what do they look like? Deion Sanders has told people, and this is where the threat comes in as we go back to that. The threat comes in with Deion Sanders. He said, "I'm not just making these kids better football players. I'm making them men.
Yes.
I'm making them men."
Yes.
That is the threat. Not the threat that he's winning. Not the threat that he may win a national championship. The threat is all those young black men that decide, and white young men that go there are going to come in as boys, but by the time they leave there, they're going to be men.
Hey,
that is the threat.
Let me step in. I just watched the interview last night. Deion Sanders. He says he wants to have a draft for the kid. He said 85% of his kids are not going to the NFL. 85%. So he said he wants to have a draft where he has Fortune 500 companies. He has connections. He wants to have a draft where his kids that don't go pro can get hooked up and to six-figure positions, can have access to opulence without, if they don't go pro, they still have a different avenue to go. So
here's a question with that.
That will
and I'm fine with that. And he just brought that up. Did he do that at Jackson State? Now I'm gonna be a devil's advocate here. Did he do that at Jackson State? Because about 99.9% of them wasn't going pro. Did he do the same thing at Jackson State? Because my question would be, and I'm a Deion fan, and I don't want nobody to think I'm trying to bash him, but it seems when you say that, if he said this in an interview now while he's in Colorado, he had the opportunity to do it at Jackson State too, but I don't remember that conversation there.
He
had the same connections he got now because he's Deion Sanders.
Him, but he was the first one. He got what's the guy? Michael Strahan. He hooked up with Michael Strahan, and he had these guys all fitted for suits. And every time they left, he was doing some of that stuff. But you also got to remember at Jackson State, he had to give up half his salary for them to build a new, so it was other stuff going on.
But hold on. I'm not talking about the salary. I'm talking about the connection he has to be able to do what he's talking about doing in Colorado. He has the same connections he could have done at Jackson State. That's all I'm saying. So my question would be, is it about location? Is it about location?
And opportunity too. I mean, he's in a different. It's different.
So who needs it more? Who needs it more? The ones at Jackson State or the ones in Colorado? Because the 99.9% ain't going from Colorado. 85% going from Colorado. 99.9% ain't going from the HBCUs.
Well, now we're getting into it. So you're saying he should have stayed at Jackson State?
No. I'm asking, did he do that same type of program at Jackson State? Knowing that the draft people don't even look at them football players like they do the Power 5. That's all I'm saying.
That's it. That's how he operates, man.
Yeah,
That's how
but
he
it goes back
operates.
to
It's done.
what we're saying. It goes back to what we're saying when we talk about us being involved. If we're going to do it in one location, how come we couldn't do it at the last location
And how do we
where
know?
everyone looked like you?
How we know he didn't? That's what I'm asking.
No, that was the question. I don't know, but
All
this is
right.
the first time I heard it.
And see, that's what I'm saying. Why do we jump straight
No,
to?
no. That's not what I'm doing. That's
You know,
not what I'm asking. The question: did he do it at Jackson State? That's all I was asking.
He might, it might be because he has a bigger platform right now,
Right.
and he can get people to listen to him right now. I don't know if he did that at Jackson State. I hope he did, but um, it if he didn't, to me, it's a little hypocritical.
That's the
But
only reason I'm asking. That's all
yeah,
I'm asking.
I get it because it is hypocritical
Bec-
if you
bec-
didn't do it there. But I do also think that uh, with the platform that he has right now, he's able to push some things that he wasn't able to push at Jackson State. He did not have that same level of
You sure? You
yeah,
sure?
yeah.
Because well, hold on now. Because before Dion went to Jackson State, you didn't hear a whole lot about HBCU football on a national stage. Let's
no.
just if we want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Because that platform that he had at Jackson State gave him more notoriety than what he's doing in Colorado. The only difference is they're winning in Colorado and they haven't won. So my question would be this, and this is not to beat Dion down or nothing like this. What I'm asking is this: when we talk about us and trying to make differences in our communities and doing things, the perfect opportunity to do what you said he's doing in Colorado would have been Jackson State. Because as I said, when he came on the news after the draft, and he said the NFL should be ashamed of themselves because only one player from Jackson State even got invited to do a tryout, to a tryout. One out of all the players he had that were seniors, one. So if he was doing that in Colorado, he should have been doing the same thing because only one person even got called by an NFL team to go there. That's why I'm asking the question, not to beat him down, but I'm asking because the dichotomy is different.
I know, but
the numbers change.
I still believe it has a lot to do with exposure, though, because at Jackson State, you didn't see them playing on TV every Saturday either, like they do now.
True.
So he has a lot of exposure that he didn't have then, and so it doesn't change the fact though that he could have did those same kinds of things, but they would have just been on a smaller level because you don't see CBS, NBC, all those putting that kind of money behind Jackson State. They didn't even when he was there. I mean, I had to search to find the HBCU games on TV.
True. Very true.
Because you just don't see those. Even Colorado, who was 1-11, played on TV more than Jackson State did last year. So
well, here,
I
when
mean,
you say the connections, there's
definitely a connection, and I do think that Dion could have, if he did not do those same things, he could have done them, but they would have just been on a smaller level.
We went way off topic today. I ain't gonna lie. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah, we did.
You know, with the threat thing. But here's one thing that I'll put in there, and I'm gonna leave it alone when we talk about that. We talk about the connections and where he's at, bigger platform, as Trent Branch says, and everything like that, right? But at the same time, do you think that Dion has got new friends now than he had when he was in Jackson State?
New what?
New friends.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but here's the question. He has new friends, but he's still Deion Sanders, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you the prime example. Last week, I think they recorded where him and his sons were watching the Denver Broncos play. And they were in the box suite for Robert F. Smith. Do y'all know who Robert F. Smith is? Yeah. Robert F. Smith is the richest black man, billionaire, right? Okay, he's in their box suite. He thanked him for those box seats there. Do you think they just came across each other because he's in Colorado now? Because if he's known him and he didn't use that at Jackson State like he's going to use at Colorado, that's the point I'm trying to make.
Well,
That's all. That's all I'm saying.
How do we know he didn't? That's where I think we make the mistake. We don't know it, like I was saying about the other reporter. If you weren't down there, if you didn't interview him, if you didn't sit down and ask him, man, what are you doing here? There's certain things that went we didn't see at Jackson just because the platform is different. We didn't see everything he got to do there. And like I said, his character, to me, his character has been the same. His goals and again, he did in Jackson, he was coming out his pocket. When
we keep going back to the money. Wait a minute, we keep going back to the money.
You saying taking care of those kids. I'm telling you how his heart is.
But he knew that when he took the job, John.
Well, nah, you don't know everything, man.
Wait, come on.
You don't know everything coming in.
But and you don't either. But that's my point, though. But we can always assume. But here's the thing: just like Chip Brand said, we can always assume. But here's the thing:
he said out his mouth was, he said, dealing with these people, they were not forward thinking. He said that. So we don't know what was going on in those boardrooms when they had meetings. And Dion saying, hey, we need to do this. And they're saying, nah, I don't think we need to do that.
But we don't speculation know. Too. That's speculation too.
I'm saying we don't know.
Right. So
we shouldn't speculate. If I'm gonna give Dion the benefit of the doubt, I'm gonna lean that he's doing the same things. Why would he change?
I think
his goal is always for those kids. Why would a multi-millionaire go down to Jackson making less money than his son was making?
New places, new faces. New places, new faces.
I think he did a lot of the same. I think he did do a lot of the same thing. You know, that when you brought up Robert S. Smith, there was an article, and I got to find it. I'll send it to you when I find it. But I know he donated a lot of money to HBCUs.
He paid,
and he also I think knows Deion Sanders on a more personal level. But I'll have to find that article. But he donated a lot of money to HBCUs. But I think what Deion is able to do now that he wasn't able to do at Jackson State is he's able to talk more about those things because he does have that much bigger platform. Than he did there. And so he's able to, to talk a little bit more about it. And you look at the players, a lot of those players that he have came from that school too. A lot of those players that are at Colorado,
he
came from Jackson State.
Right.
A lot of them came from a lot of other schools, and a lot of them look like him. and
he brought 2 female trainers with him.
Yeah.
2 female trainers that came, and all the black coaches that he brought in, including my cousin.
But y'all think I'm beating him? I'm not trying to beat the man up. What I'm saying is this. Wait a minute. Let me clear something up here. I'm not trying to beat him up. I just asked the question: is he doing the same thing in Colorado? That program you talked about, did he do it at Jackson State? I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't. But I'm just using the numbers that we know. If you're saying that 85% aren't going to the NFL from Colorado, did he do the same thing in Jackson State, knowing that 99.9% weren't going? That was the only question I had. I'm not trying to beat him up. I'm not trying to objectify whether he's right or wrong. What I'm asking is, we sometimes, and I'm not saying him, but sometimes, because we've all seen it, we do more in a different situation than we do in our last situation. And it has nothing to do with money all the time. It has to do with the fact that we get in these positions sometimes, and sometimes we'll get in a higher position, but we won't hire the brother that's been with us the whole way. We'll reach back and pull up somebody that looks like the other folks because there will be no controversy if I hire him. If I hire my boy, then it may be a problem. It's just one of those things. Now, Robert F. Smith, let me touch on this. Robert F. Smith donated and paid for all those Morehouse College graduates at that graduation ceremony, right? Took care of all the tuition and everything. But let me give you some background on Robert F. Smith, because I read up on this and I did a show on it. Robert F. Smith, at the time when he did that donation as a tax write-off, was up on charges for offshore money, and he turned on his accountant to save his ass from going to jail. And in that same time is when he donated that money to Morehouse College. If you go back and look, Robert F. Smith has never before that moment given any money to an HBCU. So we have to take things by what we know to be true, yes. But we also need to look at not the speculation of it, but we're talking about what we've seen happen in our community many, many times. That's the only reason I asked that question, because we see it too often. And it's usually at this level. I'm not saying Deion's doing that. And I applaud him for everything he's doing in Colorado, because he did the same thing at Jackson State, different place, new places, all that. But at the same time, I'm just asking, knowing that 99.9% weren't going to the NFL, did he try to do that course or have those people come in, those businesses come in to give them interviews to have a career after they left college? That's all. That's all. You know, Trent Brands, do we know if Deion Robinson actually have a personal business relationship? Not sure. Context and circumstances. DMAC, sometimes you have to plant your seeds in more fertile ground. True. Believe me, I've been to Boulder. Me and DMAC, we used to go to Boulder when we were stationed in Denver. Sometimes we walked up there, only people look like us with the football players, the basketball players. Yeah. Let's keep it real.
Well, it's only
that place is, there's so many up there now coming in on Saturday mornings and stuff. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
3% black in both, and it's 3% black.
You know, we used to go up there and it was like, yo, we need to get back to Denver. You know what I'm saying? But times change, people change, perspective change, locations change. All I'm saying is we'll keep an eye on it and we'll see what goes on with that. But my biggest thing is when we talk about the threat that we look at, our biggest threat is ourselves in most cases. The threat that we're looked at by other folks, is it a hindrance on what we do? Of course. I wanted to get into a part where, and we can do a second part on this, but I wanted to get into the part where us being looked at as a threat in so many different areas of our lives, the things we've experienced, anything being called the N-word or not getting a job because of how you look, PTSD. PTSD is never associated with us as black men or black women and what we have to deal with on a consistent basis. But I think that's a conversation we need to have as well. Because John, you mentioned to me that you wanted to talk about mental health. So it all goes into it. And as Willis Cheney said before, the mental psychology of us, because of what we deal with, what we see, knowing it's wrong, and nothing's changed about it. I think most African-American black people in the United States of America are walking around with PTSD and don't even know it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
From just the racial aspect of what we deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But the only thing that gets highlighted is military and sexual assault victims. If you look at the numbers, but if you think about what we deal with, the things that go on with us, it's true. It's true. You go on your job, sometimes you wonder, damn, what they gonna come at me with today? And then you know sometimes the things you deal with is only because you're black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't concentrate on the PTSD of it.
Because our country don't want to deal with that issue. And that's why, it doesn't come up. Anytime you even talk about any type of social issues or anything that the black community have, no one wants to deal with that issue.
Yep.
Because they think you're asking for something. You're asking for some money when that comes.
Yeah.
So
don't say reparations. Don't say reparations.
Like that. Yeah. You can't say reparations.
Don't say reparations. That's a curse word. Yeah. Don't say reparations.
I got I got a letter just the other day in the mail from the Black Farmers Association, because my father was a farmer, and they're in the process of a lawsuit right now.
Right.
And so they're asking for people that want to be included in that lawsuit. And I'm gonna put my information in there, because my father was stripped of a lot of stuff back in the day.
That's what.
I remember those things.
Is that
Huh?
dealing? Is that dealing with land?
Yeah,
Because a
land.
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
it's dealing with land and
I did.
everything, and they have meetings all over the country. I'm going to try to attend the one in Dallas. They've
All
already
right.
had some of them already, but I'm trying to go to the one in Dallas, because there's a possibility that we could recoup at least something uh, from some of the things that were taken.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True. Let me caveat on that. And I know this is going off topic, but Battle, you just said something. I want everybody out there to listen to this when I say this. Whenever you get a letter in the mail, as Black folks, that says class action lawsuit, fill the paperwork out.
That's right, man.
Fill the paperwork out. And the reason I say that is we get these class action lawsuits because of something we bought, or something was done, or something was this, just like the what is it, the loan forgiveness program and different things like that. We only look at the big things. But this is why I say that. When you get involved in these processes, you impact the outcome of these processes. We're so quick to blow things off because they may say you made out of this class action lawsuit because there's so many people, you maybe only get $20. It's not the money. It's the concept, because these businesses and these politicians and these lawsuits, like the farmers, we've been hearing about this farmer thing for at least 10 years now, where it's become headline news. But this has been going on since we were first able to have land. We have to be, it goes back to what John was saying, we got to be more involved in the things that are going on. So I just wanted to put that out there. But go ahead, John, you were ready to say something.
No, I was just saying I've done some research on that, and like I think in Alabama, Mississippi, down in that area, they stole a lot of land,
Right.
and what they was doing with the farmers, they had money that they would give to the white farmer, but they would loan black people money, but knowing that they wasn't gonna make any profit, and they would even get in debt to them, and that's when they would start taking their equipment or taking their land. And I forget who the author was, but it's a real good article about that. The great land. It's called the Great Land, something like that.
Well,
But yeah,
people need to be aware. And here's the thing. If you go back and look at some of the things that have happened to these black farmers in battle, I don't know all the stories of your father, but these black farmers have dealt with everything from these white men coming in and burning their crops,
yeah,
killing their livestock. Anything you can think about a farm, they have gone in and done things. When they plant the soil, they go in and destroy the fertile ground and all these different things. So I'm gonna go back to what we started this off as. Why are we considered a threat when all of the threatening things have been done to us? Think about that for a minute. We're considered a threat. And the only threat we pose in all reality is retaliation for the wrongs that have been done to us. That's it. And that's where the biggest fear is.
that's fear. That's it.
That's the biggest fear. When I decide to do a you to you,
Yeah.
Right.
that's
Because
where the biggest threat comes from.
they were able to convince a whole
Nation.
population of people that we were the violent ones and we were the ones that needed to be controlled. That's what they did. And so that's why they went to Africa. Because we were savages, they needed to control us.
But we were kings and queens.
Yeah. So that mentality have just went on throughout the years, and it still exists to this day.
And that's why
It's PTSD. It's what it is.
And then y'all been handcuffed. I don't want y'all to throw it out there, but if you ever been handcuffed, handcuffs were created from the shackles, bondage. Handcuffs is not just something that police officers carry because they want to handcuff you. Handcuffs were carried because they wanted to capture your ass and take you back to the plantation you could escape from.
That's right.
And if that hasn't changed, I laugh about it. But at the end of the day, the threat is not us. We are the threatened. And we see it in the actions with the police officers. We see it in the actions of the politicians. We see it in the acts of people in elevators when they describe to grab their purses because we're in the elevator with them. There's so many instances that we have to deal with on a daily basis as just being Black in this country and overseas. Because as much as people don't want to talk about it, overseas, the Africans in Europe, bruh, you think we got it bad. And I'm not trying to do no comparisons, but it's ugly over there. If anybody's ever been to Europe for a period of time and seen the Africans there, yeah, treat it like dirt. Treat it like dirt. But I will say this when we talk about the threat. I would tell everybody out there as Black folks, be aware. And I say that not to put fear in you, before you get to understand this. What they're doing now with these systems, the politics and the justice system and everything is only the tip of the spear of what they're trying to do to minimize our impact in this country. As long as you're running a football, dunking a basketball, hitting the baseball, which is rare nowadays, you don't see a lot of us playing that. But as long as you're doing something to earn them money, you're not a threat. It's when you speak up like Colin Kaepernick did, or Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, formerly Chris Jackson, Craig Hodges, Sam Smith. Those were threats to their superiority. And they put them, so-called, as Battle said, in their place. They didn't allow them to make wages off them anymore. They barred them or blackballed them from the careers that they had. And they made them seem to society that they were the problem, not what the problem truly was and still is. I say all that just to say, y'all, we're fighting a battle, and we're going to continue to fight a battle. I was looking at something the other day, and I pulled up some pictures of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, two of my most favorite people in my life, and Muhammad Ali. Those are the three that I always look to for guidance when I need something. And what I realized, I looked at a lot of pictures of them. And you see the Malcolm X here. You see Martin Luther King here. You see Muhammad Ali, and they always showed Muhammad Ali in boxing gloves and boxing shorts. Very rarely did you see them show Muhammad Ali in a suit or anything like that, unless he was modeling to promote something. I say all that they'll glorify us in the means of our athleticism, but they won't glorify us by our brain power. We got to be better to put ourselves in that space and each other. You see some brother trying to do something, pick him up, push him. Let him know how proud you are of him. Push him to the next level. Help him get his message out. Because, rather than trying to minimize what he's doing, build it up. Because eventually, those people are going to hear it. And one thing that when you start doing shows like this, and you start getting those comments after the fact, race baiting and all that kind of stuff, which I've gotten, you're touching a nerve. Yeah. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. When they call you out of your name, you trigger something. Yeah. And we all, and I'm not saying that we have to do it. I'm saying we should do it. And the reason we should do it, it's a quote, a line from Ray Charles. His mother said it. Scratch a lie, catch a thief. Scratch a lie, catch a thief. So if I say something and it doesn't offend you, no harm, no foul. But if it offends you, I know who I'm dealing with. John, I'm gonna give you the last thing on this. We're gonna go around. Go ahead, bro. We are iron 42 in, man. Come on. if you wouldn't went off on that Dion thing, we'd have been all right, man. Come on, bro.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Nah, I'm messing with you, bro. Go ahead, man.
Nah, I just first just say I appreciate you having me on. It's a great topic, and we just got work to do. And I think we're a little late to the game, so we just got to keep moving. We got to keep moving. I still say the main thing is we gotta we gotta continue to let the youth know. Again, they don't have to be the leaders per se in the front, but they can also help out. Rita Franklin, she donated her money. She did shows. I never knew she was so supportive of the movement, but she was because she donated money that they needed. She would do shows for them. So everybody can play a part. Everybody just got to find their part. Some of them it's going to be you're going to have to lead from the front. We got Cavante Duckett, a young man in his 20s who's an alderman here in Frederick. We have Guy and Sampson, who's I think he's works directly with the mayor. He's in his 20s, and these are young politicians. So, and now I think Cavante's on the county commission board. So that's what we need. We need young folks. They're talking about Joe Biden's too old. We need more young influx. So in order to be heard, you got to be at the table.
Go ahead, Battle. Talk to us.
I feel the same way. We got to get young people more involved in politics. We gotta try to do everything we can to keep these states and counties and cities from keeping us from learning, or keeping our youth from learning the truth about things. Because when they can hide the truth, then it makes it easy for them to continue to do what they've been doing for years.
Yeah.
And so that's the only way that we can keep that stuff from happening, is that we have to be learning at all times. And I appreciate the invite again today for the show. It's a great topic to talk about, and look forward to the next one.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this too, man. I need everybody out there listening, and tell your family members and everything. My plan is to run for some kind of city council here in Las Vegas within the next 3-4 years. So I need all y'all to go ahead and get some kind of address out here to become a resident. So when I do, y'all can vote, and then you can go back to your normal residency. I'm gonna play the game like they play the game. Let's just be real here. Them now, me saying that on this camera and on this microphone probably will get me ejected from the back, but I'm gonna put it out there. No, but all seriousness, man, these are conversations that we need to have. And I was talking to a guy at work the other day, Brian Hoodie. We were sitting and talking, and I was telling him this specifically. I was telling him, when I have these conversations, I make it a point to say, when we have these conversations, I'm pro-Black, and I will always be pro-Black. But don't mistake what I say and how I feel for being anti-white.
Right.
And the reason I say that is not to make nobody feel comfortable. The reason I say that is that the fact of, you can be who you are and still have an opinion. You can still be who you are and have a voice to say what is right and what is wrong. But don't let the fact that someone may look at you in a different light from what you have to say about an issue and make you change who you are to make them comfortable. The bottom line, if you know me, you know me. If you don't know me, 9 times out of 10, anything I say on this show, when I do it, you're offended. Just leave it at that. What you find out in life, those people you grew up with that said you were their friends, As time goes on, as John said, when Donald Trump got in office, he seen a change in the dichotomy of that friendship. And then after he left office, they came back around. Sometimes those friendships are by convenience. Sometimes they're just to say, I got a black friend. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back again next week with another speak on it. We're going to do what we do. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. Share, subscribe, do what you do on YouTube and everything. Battle, I appreciate you, bro, coming in, giving us that senior statesman viewpoint. John Chaney, I know you're a hardcore Colorado Buffalo fan now. Your cousin's up there doing big things. And let me tell you this, as much as I was playing devil's advocate about Deion, I'm gonna be on that couch today watching Oregon play Colorado because that's what I do. But all seriousness, man, I'm looking forward to what he's doing up there, and I hope that whatever he's doing up there not only gets those young men to become men in this society, but they get what they want out of this life because of the impact that he was able to give them. That's all it's about. That's all it's about.
I got my steak and shrimp. I got my steak and shrimp ready.
Hey, let me say this before we get off here. You got steak and shrimp today. When he was watching Jackson State, it was chicken wings and French fries. Boy, you so disrespectful. You're so disrespectful. He watched Colorado. He eating steak and shrimp. When it was Jackson State, he talking about give me 20 wings from Wingstop and an order of fries and a beer. Now eating steak, lobster, and putting Grey Poupon and stuff on.
It's a bigger platform.
Situations change, bro. He got a cloth napkin tucked in his shirt watching the game. Back in the day, he using a whole roll of paper napkins and carrying on. But all seriousness, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Thank y'all for tuning in, everybody out there, and we'll be back again. We'll be back again next week with another show, man. I appreciate y'all, OT. I don't know what happened to him, but I'll take that up with him next time I talk to him. As I say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up. And most definitely keep your faith in God. I'll holler at y'all next week, and we out. Peace.